Awesome. Welcome to the Cancers Podcast. This is a place where people come together, talk about the things that they've been through. It started off as cancer. We've had a lot of friends, and today we're having fellow former cancer survivor James Howell on, a good friend from a long time ago, playing
Yeah,
football in the
been
hallways at the Children's Hospital to now to see where we've both gone and where you are now working for Georgia football, which is very cool, which I definitely want to talk about. But James, for people who don't know you as well as I do, could you give your cancer story?
yeah. Glad to be here. Obviously, thanks for getting me here. For me, I'm from Vestavia Hills, Alabama. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor when I was 4 years old, and for about 2.5 years, I had surgery and full body chemotherapy and radiation. And luckily for me, I was a one and done. I was declared cancer free when I was 8, and I basically went all the way to I was 16 with basically no repercussions or nothing. And then basically at 16, I was told I don't need to come back. I hadn't been in the hospital for anything like checkups or basically anything. Like I hadn't talked to anybody for a couple of years, and I'm now 24. And since having one of the rare childhood brain tumors, I have barely had any repercussions or any side effects. I've had a little bit here and there, but since then, I've counted myself very lucky compared to a lot that I've met through that. And now like you said, I went to UAB in 2020. I did my undergrad there. I just graduated, and now I'm working with the Georgia football team with their equipment team.
That's amazing to hear. Clean bill of health. Obviously, a lot of people deal with a lot of things post cancer that are difficult. Sounds like you're thriving, which is incredible to hear. So you mentioned that you had a rare tumor. Could you touch up on what that was
Yeah,
specifically?
yeah. For me, so like the medical term, I guess, for it is medulloblastoma, which was a tumor like right above your brainstem. And for from my understanding, when I was that age, it was very rare where it was and what kind of tumor it was because it hadn't been documented that many times at that time in the United States, kind of. And where it was, we thought it'd be inoperable just because of how kind of compact it is and where it exactly is in such a tight corner of your brain that basically with surgery, a lot of things could happen. I could have lost mobility where I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I would have long term side effects hitting me when I was now 20. And for me, I got very lucky. It was a very straightforward surgery, and they got everything without it leaking into my body and getting anywhere else that could have affected me, like my spinal cord or any of my other organs. And with that, I got very lucky with surgery. And obviously, when you go through major surgeries with cancer like that, I had to have chemotherapy and radiation, which that's honestly the worst thing. That's, as you know, that's probably the more worse than the actual cancer itself. And yeah, it's good for us, but it's also it leads to a lot of bad things. But I would say I got very lucky with what I had.
Yeah, because it's like you're literally injecting poison, a
Really,
measured amount of poison into your body to kill cells.
like to this day, I don't think they still don't know exactly what chemotherapy or radiation will do to you. Like they know
Yeah.
it's killing bad stuff, but like a lot of the worst stuff can come from that, and that's the biggest controversy with it. Just because like they're still talking about to this day how to perfect it, and it's the hardest thing to kind of navigate.
Well, yeah, and that's why we do a lot, and why we're doing this is,
Oh yeah,
it's also it's for people to come and hear inspirational stories about other people who have not just gone through cancer. I'm kind of expanding it to where we can have more guests on who have just
that's cool.
overcome difficult things in life, but also to shed awareness on cancer and some of the side effects. You and I are extremely lucky to not have some of the side effects that our friends have had or that we have
Right.
seen firsthand, because we've been around a lot of other people with cancer, and other people who have had the chemo and the radiation have had life altering effects that are are very painful and very,
Yeah.
very difficult to go through.
Like a lot of people being now they're in wheelchairs or they have problems even talking. Like it's a lot of just crazy things. And for me, I got very lucky not to have like major things. For me, like my minor things are I lost some hearing, so I wear hearing aids. I developed ADHD, but like that's nothing to me compared to like not being able to talk properly or even live my life how I want to.
Mhm. Yeah, but life side effects of not being able to have children,
Yeah.
muscular things, obviously, anything involving the senses. You said I also have hearing loss, don't have the sense of smell, which I always joke around is the greatest sense to lose
It really is.
when you're comparing. That I don't think I'm eligible for a handicap parking spot, though. I always joke about that, which I'm thankful for.
uh,
So, you had cancer when you were 4,
yeah, I was
and
4 years old.
so
Uh,
a lot of people kinda, like, obviously, when you're little, it's hard to remember everything that
mhm.
happened. Did you understand what you were going through at the time, or did you look back on it and reflect?
To this day, I honestly don't remember like any of it. Like my family, they wrote a book that like we logged in every step of it. So obviously, I was 4. It was in October when I was 4, and I was born in February. So I was 4.5, and then all of a sudden, the way we caught it was for me. My mom's an eye doctor, and my left eye was crossing without me moving it. So we thought it was a bad muscle or something. And so obviously, we went through multiple tests and multiple doctors, and they were like, "Oh, it's probably just a bad muscle. We'll get it clipped." And then finally, we got lucky, and they moved up an MRI for us, and that's how we found out that I had a tumor on the opposite side of my brainstem. And so with that, I honestly had no idea what was going on. I didn't know a single. I couldn't care less. I was about to be a kindergartner. I had no idea what was going on. So
Mm,
for me, a lot of it was just being explained that hey, you're sick. You got this, and that. We're gonna be in the hospital for a little bit. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. And a lot of it that I remember was kind of post-op more than having surgery. I remember a good bit of when I came out of surgery. I had to go through physical therapy, learning how to even walk and hold a baseball and stuff like that. And a lot of me, I just remember random bits of going to the hospital, of getting treatment for the next couple of years. I remember my most vivid memory is probably throwing a football in the halls of Clinic 8 with you and us not getting yelled at because we thought we'd get kicked out, but we literally have IV stands next to us as we're just messing around in the hallways. But yeah, for me, a lot of it didn't come full circle until I was about maybe 12 or 13 when I started actually like deep diving myself into like I actually like researched stuff and looked up what this was, and I was like, oh, it made sense. So yeah, I luckily got I would say not luckily, but for me, being at a young age, I had no idea what was really going on and the severity of it, which a lot of people I know they've gone through cancer when they were younger. I mean, a lot older in like middle school and high school. And it's harder for them because you fully understand what's going on and you fully
yeah.
understand what you're missing in life or what honestly could happen. So, like, for me, I got a very lucky age where a lot of it wasn't really reality for me.
It is weird that contrast because what is the age? Have you ever thought about that? What is the age where you figure out that,
Yeah.
oh, you're being blasted with chemo and radiation because you have a life-threatening disease, and or it may not be an age, it might be something that happens, something you're told.
Yeah. Um, Gosh, it's hard to honestly put like an answer to that because like I would like obviously even at 4 years old I knew like what there was stuff going into me that oh this would make me feel nauseous, this would make me sick. Uh,
Mhm.
I would say honestly when I turned like 10 or 11, I was in middle school, and I kind of had like a cognitive awareness of I can look this up, I can understand what this was. Oh, this makes sense why I was sick, and oh, it's killing all this. Because I honestly, I would say when you're in middle school, when you're starting to learn different parts of like the human body, that was for me. This is for me. Obviously, it might not be for everybody else, but for me, it was like learning about stuff. And learning that you have like white blood cells that help kill stuff out of your body. And for me, that was learning about just everything I was going through and how it was affecting me. So I would say roughly in your middle school years was probably like when you would understand what's going on, but that could be different for everybody.
Yeah, and when you learned, looking back, what was that like?
I would say it was pretty hard. Like once you figure out exactly, you're like, wow, I had this percent chance of having a successful surgery. I had this percent chance of never being able to speak again, or being in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, or not even making it through surgery. And it hits hard. It really hits hard. And then obviously for me, I got lucky with, I had no repercussions. I had basically, after treatment, I had nothing left of cancer or anything bad in my body where I didn't have to go back. And it's harder for people who, like you, you're a trooper. You've gone through it multiple times. And once you're understanding that you have to go back, and you are like, once you understand that it isn't a way, it's a lot harder. And for me, I got very lucky with how things went, and that I didn't have much after my initial cancer surgeries.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is definitely tough worrying about cancer in the future.
Yeah.
For like for me, that's obviously something that I'm incredibly fearful about relapsing again because when you have it more, you you think about it more, I guess,
Oh yeah.
because it's closer on your mind. And I've talked to different people about this, I guess, in private conversations. So if you don't feel comfortable answering the
No.
question, just let me know. But do you ever think about relapsing? Do you ever have that fear in the back of your mind?
Uh, I remember like growing up from middle school to high school where I would be like, I'd have a little bit of it, but then
Mhm.
it kind of hit me where I was like, it's been this long. I've had zero problems. I don't think I'll ever relapse. I'll have a very slight percent chance of ever doing anything. My biggest things of now going through my, I'm halfway through 20, and now I'm developing. A couple years ago, I lost a lot of my hearing. I've worn glasses since I was diagnosed. I just got diagnosed with ADHD. It's a lot of things of now it's starting to hit me, and
Oh, yeah.
a fear for me is a little bit of, when's that going to stop? Am I going to have like, am I going to like, I've never, lucky for me, I never played sports, so I never had major injuries where I've had that surgery. Like if I broke my arm, broke my leg. For me, a big fear for me is if I'm gonna have like start needing to have like, I don't know, a hip surgery or a back surgery, or some
Mhm.
internally starts failing at a lot more progressed age. Like say I have this in my 30s instead of having it in my 60s. That's thing that's been going on for me. Another thing for me, I have no fear of relapsing and any of that. My biggest fear now is, as I'm developing in my life, I'm developing in, if when I want to get married and if I want to have kids, I still don't know to this day if I can have kids, honestly. And I want to have kids, but my biggest fear for that is I don't want to be the reason my kids have cancer. It's a hard road to struggle with, and obviously every cancer survivor probably has that, just because of how random the disease is. And I know I won't blame myself entirely for that, but it's like it's a big correlation that I fear every day, because I don't want to put my kids through what I had. It's the worst thing to ever do, and I saw the look on my parents' faces the whole time going through it, and it's the hardest thing. Now that we're grown up, we have to think about stuff like that, and it sucks, but it's one of those that I got to deal with.
I've never thought of that personally, but it
Uh,
is something. There are a couple things. One, it's a lot of people who have chemotherapy or radiation are unsure if they can have kids, and
yeah,
that's, you know, it is case by case, but also if you look up on the internet, if you have chemo and radiation, your chances of being able to have
it's
kids
hard.
are just lower. And then on top of that, it's the fear of having a child, loving that child, and then hearing from a doctor your child has cancer. Like I can't even imagine I've tried to imagine because I've been starting to work with kids in sports, or I had a part-time job at a Lifetime Fitness where I did the kids academy, and seeing the kids' relationships with the parents, something I never really saw firsthand. And then imagining that moment is it's gotta be brutal. And it's something that I guess you don't really think about when you're going through the cancer, how your parents or your family feels when that's on the line.
It's a big thing, and honestly, it could be at random. And like it for me, my biggest thing like thinking of that is just because like my grandmother who passed away before I was born, she had breast cancer, and
Mhm.
that's a thing that uh, it could be passed down, and it could be my grandkids. I don't know, but it's just always in the back of my mind that I think about, and they don't even know this, right? Like I remember when I was first diagnosed, that my doctor, he said it's almost that every person has a cancer gene in them. They just don't know what it starts it, like what
Wow.
starts your that one cell and causes it to start reproducing and growing and trying to just grow as a tumor or any disease anyway. And it's at random. So for me, it's just a thought always, but it's one that's kind of dwindling away because I have no power over it. I just get to live
Sure.
with it, and I consider myself very lucky where I'm at and how I'm doing in life. And with that, so be it. If it happens, I'll go through it again, and it's whatever, I guess.
I think that is a good lesson that cancer teaches, is that you can respond in 2 ways, or you could even be fearful of the future. You can be so
Right,
afraid that you don't do anything, that you never get married because you're too scared, or you never have kids because you're too scared. But also, it's, sort of what cancer taught. I feel like is what I found in common with some cancer survivors is the fact that you've been through this. You kind of just have to be in the moment and put your head down and say, "Okay, this is what life has dealt me." Um, you just gotta push forward, which is, like,
right.
super difficult and easier said than
Oh yeah,
done.
it takes a lot of time to like get that in your head that like you have no power over it in this in some substances, and you just get to live with it, and it's how you live with it.
Yeah. Is that would you say that's a big lesson you learned from cancer?
Yeah, it's a big thing for me. Like this for me is this is not for everybody, but for me, I got more into religion and more into church when I was diagnosed. My family got more into it because a lot of our community surrounded us,
Mhm.
and for me, I'm not the perfect Christian, but for me, I try to live better because of cancer taught me how precious your life is and how you can get a second chance. And for me, that is kind of hand in hand with accepting I can't control anything because it's not part of my plan. It's somebody else's plan, and I just get to live it. So that's just how I go every day.
That is a beautiful message, just letting understand that you don't control all the things that come your way.
Right. You just get
And
to deal with it.
yeah, and that's, for someone who is religious, I am too, something I definitely believe in, but someone who's non-religious, that's also just, it's sort of a way of life. Like people
Right.
always
If
say the
someone who's not,
universe.
you don't believe in God, that's okay. It's just you
Yeah.
know that you don't have power over everything in your life, and obviously things are going to happen. It's just how you deal with it, and
Mhm.
it's not always up to us. It's something else in the world, another person's dealings, another anything's dealings, and it's just how we deal with it. That's how we live life, and that's how you and me we're getting old now.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
we
getting
are.
old now. We're having to deal with life and finding a job and finding a house.
Yeah, yeah, and also it's like, I guess the scary thing about cancer is, especially for childhood cancer, there's it just kinda happens, like you
Right.
were talking about how it's sort of a luck of the draw thing, and that's what makes it so scary. It's like sometimes there are a lot of things you can do, live a healthy lifestyle, of course, to prevent it. Sometimes even people with very healthy lifestyles and do whatever they can to not get cancer,
Right.
get it, and it's such a life altering event. You gotta put everything on pause, and it's
Yeah, a lot of it, like that happened a lot for me. So for me, I was starting my first year kindergarten when I was diagnosed, and so I missed basically like 3/4 of that whole year, and a lot of people I met through that, they're the grade above me, and so I got held back a year, and that's how I basically restarted my whole life. A lot of friends that I made, I I obviously I knew, but I wasn't hanging out with them anymore. I basically restarted my life at the age of 4 going into school. And obviously, yeah, people will be like, "Oh, you were in kindergarten." Well, that's how kindergarten and first grade are. Now that I think about it, and now that I've seen kids go through it, that's like your first major years of making friends and finding like who you are as a kid. And for me, missing those 2 years, missing that first year was a lot because it's basically restarting everything.
Mhm.
For me, I was relearning a lot of stuff because I spent I would say 5 weeks in the hospital learning how to walk again, learning how to write my name, a bunch of random stuff. So like in the middle of making friends and restarting my life was a big thing for me. And I would say childhood cancer through those years of I'd say 4 through 8 are the hardest because that's when you're growing as a kid, you're growing mentally and physically, and you're understanding your life as best you can. But when you throw cancer into that, it's alternating that and it's delaying your development, and that's what leads to a lot of these kids nowadays developing like ADHD or losing their cognitive functions and not being not being like I would say like 100% compared to the other kids that they grew up with. Obviously, when you have kids who develop cancer in middle school or high school, it's at a different development stage for them, and it's a lot different. I would say like childhood cancer is definitely one of the most impactful ones. I would say on our kids just because of it's an important part for them growing up, and it's what ruins it.
Yeah, development is so
Sorry to
key.
ramble there, but
Oh, no, you're good because that's actually something I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially as my life in my life. So, I had cancer from 2 pretty much up until 12 years old
yeah,
and a little bit on. So, I had a little bit of a taste of both, but there are different phases of childhood cancer in terms
hmm
of how old you are and how they affect you. Like, I don't know what it's like to get cancer your senior year of high school and you're going to
right.
college. I can't imagine what that would be like. Or, but what I have noticed from being young, and I'd love to know if there were studies on this out there, or if somebody has even thought about this, which I'm sure somebody has because we're talking about it. But it definitely stunts your development, your ability to communicate with people. That's something that I've had a tremendous struggle with. I feel like I I didn't know how to communicate in high school and in middle school and pretty much all throughout college because when I had cancer all throughout my childhood, everybody saw me as this cancer kid. I got all this attention, and I guess it was easy. A lot, everybody basically liked me because I was the cancer kid.
Right.
Everyone's going to treat you very well, and then you're done, and you go into this real world, and you go into middle school and high school, and it's very different because you didn't like what you were saying. I didn't learn how to communicate well on the playground. I
Right.
didn't learn how to communicate with my peers, do all these things that I had to learn to do on the way. And, without getting too deep into it, like it's been a real struggle for me. And I feel like this past year and this past couple of months, I've realized that and been able to work on my development. But it's something that I feel isn't talked about, but is super important.
Yeah, it really is. Like a lot of like, especially for me, it's hard for me. I wasn't like, I didn't play sports. I was a part of that, like all my friends doing that. I was distant from that. I was distant from hanging out socially because I didn't know how to socially hang out or fit in too well. And then obviously, like in classes, like I'd struggle with classes. I'd spend most of my time catching up instead of
Hmm.
doing all the other things that every other kid was doing, just because of how set back I was. And yeah, like you said, it isn't really talked about as much with how it developed, like how it uh, setbacks our kids, because of, yeah, they get help like tutoring and all this stuff, but they don't get taught how to hang out, or go ask a girl on a date, or ask their friends if they want to go hang out, or even ordering like at a dinner at a restaurant. Kids are not as good at it because of how social anxiety they've taken over, and how different they are, just because of everything they've lost when they were going through like cancer, and how this they've developed. And it's a big struggle, I would say, and it's definitely not talked a lot.
And on top of that, these kids have had chemo or radiation that can affect the brain.
Right.
So, I mean, they know that, and if you get radiation, your brain function isn't going to be as strong as the kid who's not had radiation.
Right.
And on top of that, even more, we know how important the developmental stages are for children early on. Like
Hmm.
they kind of make or break that person unless they take drastic measures later on in life to address it and really reflect on it, think on it, and be intentional and how to change that. So, man, that's something that I mean, I've thought about a little bit, but it's nice to hear somebody else talk about that. It's
Yeah. Oh,
something
yeah.
that
I
wasn't
talked about.
pre-planned or talked
I
about before we
Yeah,
had
I come
texted.
up with that on the fly. I'm like, he thinks the same too, because it's like, for me growing up, they did a lot of tests on me physically, like how my organs would do,
Yeah.
like me running, or me doing like actual physical stuff. But mentally, I would do some tests, but they kind of stopped that, and I don't know if they're still doing stuff like that, because a lot of these kids going through it, they develop differently. And yes, in some cases I don't know if they're doing this everywhere, but like a lot of kids are treated differently because of their past. Say like, especially in high school now, like trying to get into college when you're taking tests, and are we still comparing like a normal kid who's had nothing, and then a kid who's had like full brain radiation? If they both get the same ACT score, are we treating them the same? Or are we treating them different? Like stuff like that. Because I don't think they do anymore, where they're pulling kids out and they're testing them mentally, how they're developing through middle school and high school and going into college. I don't think they're doing as much. Obviously they're trying to get kids through the treatment, through all that, and they're making sure they're well. But I don't think they're doing a lot of reconnecting after their treatment and seeing how they're developing. And that I would definitely say that needs to be something worked on. Hey, they could be doing it right now and we don't know, but like for what we've seen, I don't know if it really is a big subject they're touching on, because you just never know.
So I've been part of the TLC clinic, which is Taking
Mm-hmm.
Life On After Cancer, which has
Mm-hmm.
been extremely good, where they kind of check up on you mentally. It's once a year. And then I also had at Children's Hospital in Alabama lots of like psychiatric care,
That's
things of
good.
that nature. Um, when I had cancer, so like when I was going through it, I went
Right.
to a therapist. You play with toys and they would ask you questions. And but then outside of that, I think in going to see a therapist did for a while, but it was I don't know if that was recommended by the hospital. I'm not sure, but I mean, it could have been. But also, like I also realize that my case is a little different because I have had cancer 4 times.
Right.
So
You're basically in the 5%. Like not many kids have had it that many times. So
yeah, so I don't know how they're treating everyone. If like, are you in the TLC? Do you take
I
part
had
in it?
no, I hadn't been a part of anything. Like
Okay.
for me, straight out of high school, like for me, I was told at 16 that I don't have to come back yearly for an MRI or yearly for checkups.
Mm.
My neurologist moved to another state, and I was never appointed another one. For me, I basically was almost kicked out of children's, almost, because I grew up out of it, and so I'm through like UAB if I go see doctors, and they know my past, and obviously since then I've gone through like a couple of things where I've developed ADHD and other stuff, but like for me, I hadn't really been a part of children's or anything since then. And yeah, I probably need to reach out and see like how can I help, because for me, I don't care. Like I can give myself 100%. I could do tests and tell people like how I was, because I was a very rare occasion where I had what my circumstances were and how I went through it, but I hadn't had any contact with anybody in the past, I'd say 5 or 6 years, just because of I kind of fell off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
It's a
awesome to
good thing and a
hear.
bad thing. Obviously, I want to help, but it's like I kind of just lived my life, went through college, and all of that.
Yeah, well, it's like it's good. It's like a double-edged sword. You want someone
Yeah,
looking out for
yeah,
your health, but your health has been so good that you haven't needed anyone, which is awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. So, right now you're working with Georgia football. Can you tell me a little about that?
yeah, yeah. So for me, I it kind of like ties in with cancer, like what I'm doing with my life. And for me, I was never allowed to play contact sports. So obviously, I grew up wanting to play football. I wanted to play lacrosse or anything. And once I got into middle school, where all my friends are starting to play football, and I can't, so I became a manager, like an equipment manager in middle school. And I went through that all the way through high school, and that's what got me into UAB. I did that for 4 years at UAB while doing my undergrad at UAB, and I was their equipment manager. So I was in charge of everything your coaches and players they wear, all the apparel, all that stuff. But I was also in charge of their helmets and shoulder pads and all the cleats that go into a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But for me, I fell in love doing it because I love being with players and coaches and just being in person with football and going through the operations of that. And I fell in love with college football, and it's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And I graduated this past December from UAB, and with that, uh, I got an internship with Georgia, and I'm getting to be with them with their equipment team for the upcoming season, and getting to continue living that career that I love doing.
Awesome, awesome. The SEC ball. That must
Oh yeah,
be
oh yeah, it's amazing. I'm excited. It's gonna be
what
fun.
so what's it like? What's the intensity like working for
Oh,
Kirby Smart
it
in
is.
that program?
Oh, it's insane. So I got here in August. I got here in not August, April, and it was right after their G Day, or their spring game, and it is full force. It's a full machine here. Like they do like 8 things a day. A lot of the past couple months has been a lot of they do kids camps and prospect
Mhm.
camps where they bring them there, and in the middle of them having 700 kids here a day for camps, we'll do team activities that are like 2 3 hours long, and in the middle of that, we're in the middle for us equipment. We're in charge of 500 people in the building of getting them. Uh, we're getting stuff for fall camp. We're getting stuff for bowl games. We're getting stuff for all like the whole season in the middle of doing stuff because of our operation. We're in charge of everything people wear. We're in charge of all the helmets, shoulder pads, cleats, all that stuff. And then we're in the middle of for a big thing that we do. We help with drills and actual practice, and we run practice. So it's a lot going on. We're doing 6 7 things a day, and we've done that for 3 straight months. And a big thing that I got to do that I never did at UAB was I'm in charge of recruiting here for that. So every Friday and Saturday for the past 5 6 weeks, we've had recruiting visits to our stadium, and I've got to meet a lot of big guys in the country of just where they're going to commit to football. And it's a lot, really. Like it's like living in a movie right now, and I'm excited day in day out of going in because right now we're about to go into fall camp in the next couple of weeks, and once we start that, we're going to be start football. We got football legit at the end of this month. NFL starts, and then we start at the end of August, and it's insane. It's already here, but I'm excited to do it.
That's amazing, bro. It's been cool seeing your journey,
It's
throwing
what
the football in the hallway at Children's to
uh,
now equipment manager at Georgia, one of the best programs in the entire country, like gold standard for college football. It's pretty
Yeah,
wild,
yeah,
man.
it's exciting. It's exciting, and I'm just lucky to be what I'm doing. Like I didn't expect this at all, and it's a thing I fell in love with as a career, and I want to see where it takes me because you can go a lot of places with this kind of career, and I personally want to stay in the South and have my family here, but you never know where it'll take you.
Yeah,
But
maybe a
what about
NFL team up north or something.
oh, it could be anywhere. And so, what about you? What are you up to these days? I know
Yeah.
you starting your entrepreneurship, starting your own podcast, and being a big man now. So
Yeah, so I'm doing insurance. I work at Palomar Insurance. It's great. I just started there. And then a passion project is doing this podcast. Um, and then I'm also working on public speaking. So I'm doing the public speaking to help raise money for childhood cancer. So I spoke to Sanford University soccer team. I kind of put a pause on it a little bit for right now because I'm trying to develop the podcast and everything.
right, right,
But I'm going to get back into public speaking, motivational speaking, trying to talk to teams, try to talk to companies, businesses, local to big. I'll speak anywhere that needs motivation. So trying to basically my goal is to for the podcast to bring people in who have perspectives on going through hard things that are valuable
hmm
so other people can listen because a lot of people are struggling out there in life and now with the internet it's more accessible to get help which is awesome
right,
and then
right.
with public speaking it's to help whoever hires me as a motivational speaker and I'm basically getting really specific on the lessons that I learned while fighting cancer to help them achieve their goals and really be in the right headspace. A lot of it is mental health. So this past like 2 years really has just been eye opening, lots of reflecting on things that cancer has brought to me for good and for bad. And then also just trying to be the best person I can be. So yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Love to hear that. And this podcast is a big thing. I would say, like when I first heard you were doing, I was like, this is a good way for you, especially to get your name out and share your stories and have people like me on here trying to express because there's a lot. Like I know public speaking is a hard thing, like trying to set up stuff and get stuff, and any way you can do it is the best thing. And this will help you try to get your name out, and it's a big thing. I like hearing that. I really do. Have you thought about like talking with churches or doing anything like with that? Like trying
I
to
need to. I need to get back on. So I coach lacrosse, and that's taken a
right,
lot of my time. But I think I'm gonna have to start. I've kind of been trying to balance my priorities, and I've had my hands in a lot of different things, activity wise. And I think I'm gonna have to take a step back from being as involved in lacrosse, so I can do more childhood cancer
yeah,
related activities. And yeah, like the coolest thing about this podcast is I don't come in with a plan. I don't really come in with a what am I going to ask this person on this day? It's kind of just natural. And what happens is I get to learn from other people. So it's like, you know, almost this kind of selfish thing because I get to learn, but also other people who are listening get to learn. Like what you
right,
had to
right.
say about childhood development is super interesting. And I haven't heard many people talk about it other than a couple other cancer survivors, but it's something that's super important. And maybe a doctor hears this one day down the road in the future
Maybe we
that
started
says
something.
maybe we should yeah, but you never know, or maybe another person who's been through a past trauma, not cancer related, that's a kid, hears this and thinks, "Oh my gosh, like I went through something as a kid and that's impacted how I am now today. I may not be able to fully fix it, but at least I can address it. I can know it and I can be intentional in the future and help myself out." So there have been so many lessons. I've talked to the first episode I recorded. I can't give everything away, but I talked to Dalton, and
Very
Dalton's
good.
another Camp Sam guy. cancer survivor, first episode. And he taught me a lot. He had a lot of we had a lot of interesting conversation about cancer, about post cancer as well. And I even talked to my guitar teacher. We had a great conversation that led to how music impacts you, and it's just been awesome. And I can't wait to hear more from
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah, no, like it's a good thing that not have this planned out, like because you get to just free ball it and talk about whatever you want, basically, and obviously you get to meet everybody and have everyone has different experiences going through childhood cancer and how they're doing now with life, and it's a real good thing you got going on. And I absolutely love it, and I definitely love that you got this going on. How's the More Than Four program going? Are you still kind of running with that, or is that kind of
Yeah,
paused while you're
yeah.
doing this? Okay, that's
Thanks
good.
for yeah, thanks for asking. So we're actually there's a nonprofit in Georgia in Atlanta called the Rally Foundation that we're about to become a program of. So it's
Okay.
almost so to me it's like Shark Tank, you know, investing in a
Yeah,
business.
but
Like
okay, good.
Rally is the super big childhood cancer fundraising nonprofit. They do so much for childhood cancer. They work with the Falcons. I'm sure they do some work with Georgia,
They
but
probably. I'm still learning everybody's name around here, so I'll
yeah.
mention.
Well, we're working with them, and by the time this gets released, which will be in a couple of weeks, we'll have a big deal. We're going to be donating to them, and so like when I do my public speaking, proceeds from my public speaking will go to More Than Four, which is part of Rally. We're working on a couple ideas. I'm thinking about doing a cool thing where we send care packages to kids in the hospital, mystery box care packages with
That's nice.
sports themed gears and autographs. So um, that's something that we're working on. Honestly, I should talk to you about maybe
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Georgia.
I can. I've definitely been in like the consideration of wanting to kind of get with Georgia with how they do stuff because I know a couple of weeks ago for the first time I got to see they go through. Our whole team goes. They meet. They've done this yearly. They do a thing with Camp Sunshine. It's somewhere in
Yep,
Atlanta where
Camp
yeah, it's a
Sunshine is
bunch of
great.
kids. They met with them a couple of weeks and I was like, wait, this is very cool. This is something that I can personally want to get connected with, and I'm still trying to figure out who's the like. I'm trying to climb the totem pole of who runs stuff here because there's so many people. This is a huge program, and for me, I'm definitely wanting to get connections with that because at UAB I was a big front runner of us directly because we were involved with Children's Harbor, we were with Smile Mile, and now that I'm kind of restarting, I'm wanting to get more connected because a lot of stuff like that is the best thing because I learned through trying to do outreach with kids in football. Like they absolutely are obsessed with football, and those are their heroes. And
Yeah,
that is a huge connection to how people to get outside people who are outside of all this, all outside of football, outside of childhood cancer, to get on it because they see that they're like, oh, this football player, oh, he's going to see a bunch of kids with cancer, and oh, look, these are uh, these are like underpaid programs that need to see like there needs to be light shined on this because it's a big thing, and that's how like for me that's a big thing that people can see because college football is one of the biggest things in the country, and that's how a lot of people get to see that through media. And I absolutely am a front runner with trying to get childhood cancer through that just because of how
yeah.
much light it shines on it.
Well, it's
So I,
like with the Hawkeye
I got some
Wave.
research to be doing.
The Hawkeye Wave, like, that's brought so much awareness to childhood cancer and childhood diseases in general.
That's my favorite thing. And then when UAB, obviously every year they wear the kids' last names from the hospital when they do
Yep.
that.
I've still got my jersey back there somewhere.
Love that. Love that. I have mine. I got to get one made for me before I left. And obviously now it's not as big because SEC has their own rules. Georgia obviously has their own traditions. So I don't know how much they do stuff like in game, but outside of football, they do a bunch of organizations, and I'm definitely going to get to the bottom of that and do everything I can because I think that's a great thing to try to get involved with, and it's a great way to shine light on childhood cancer. Obviously,
Yeah, man, and the fact that children are the biggest fans of these
Oh
athletes.
yeah.
It's like to them, they're heroes.
Like
So
there's I've never seen like the uproar of kids waiting at the end of the tunnel just to see all the players that they like. Like it's insane.
yeah,
And that's a big thing I want to try to get just because like obviously it's not going to be like the easiest thing to do and obviously it might not happen in the first couple of years but if you get the ball rolling I really believe like it can be a lot better than what it used to be. Because obviously it's a lot better than what it used to be because there's a lot of stuff getting seen now. Like obviously you getting seen and what you're doing, and obviously UAB's getting UAB made ESPN because of all the stuff they were doing
mhm.
with their uniforms and all
I think
the
the MLB does something too.
right. The MLB started doing something, and I believe the NFL a couple years ago the NFL hadn't really done their breast cancer where they were pink, but they did breast cancer and then they did their childhood gold for a little bit. And I've heard stuff that might be coming back. I don't know, but it's a lot of stuff that if you get the ball rolling, it'll get going. And I just want to do everything I can to try to get that scene.
Yeah, well, if you need any help, I'm always a call away.
Oh, oh yeah.
Um, Thanks for joining, man. I really enjoyed this
Thanks for
conversation.
having.
It was it was definitely a learning experience.
Oh yeah.
Definitely something that I enjoyed catching up. And
Yeah,
good luck
yeah.
with everything at Georgia, dude. Try not to stay too busy though.
I appreciate it. I'd love to be here again, try to help out as much as I can, and get to talk about everything. And I don't know how you run this thing, and I don't want to tell you how to run this thing, but if we have like multiple people in here, like two or three people, like just chit chatting and going, I would absolutely be a part of it because it's just always fun to catch up with you guys, and this is my favorite way of catching up because I hadn't talked to my Smallmouth friends in a while just because everyone's grown up and obviously I want to see how people are doing and get to talk about the biggest thing that we share and how we met. So
Mm.
always
I
happy.
love that I love that idea. I think I might steal it, like a round table talking about maybe a specific thing or what we've learned from cancer, reflecting or
That or we just start sharing memories of how
sharing
of like
memories.
how and everything and doing stuff. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that idea, man.
Good luck.
Well, yeah, you have a great one, man. It was great to see you. Great to see
Great
you.
seeing you. Talk again.
Peace.